sing praises to your name. Yeah. Hallelujah. All right. You ready to go, Aki? Okay, we're on. All right. So we're going to be covering our Hebrew faith, back to the basics, part 3. And last week we covered understanding the law, sin, and the favor of Yahuah and how it works, just in a basic form. So, like I said, we talked about what is sin, the law, from a very basic understanding. And now sin can be broken down even further. For those that have been here a while, you might have been through that class. This is, again, a class targeted to those that are just coming into the walk. A lot of times, we come into assemblies and, man, they're way out there. And we're just trying to catch up, barely treading water. And it might take us a year, maybe 2, before we really start to focus in on what's going on, And so we're trying to go back to the basics, and that's been my task. Hallelujah. But sin can be broken down even further. So sin can be broken down to sin, transgressions, iniquities, and abominations. All right? We'll see an example of that in Exodus 34:7. Keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgressions and sin. So you see how the Father broke that down. He says, I'm forgiving iniquities, I'm forgiving transgressions, I'm forgiving sin. To let you know it's different things. It's like shallow. Then there's not so much of intent, but you made a mistake. And then there's a willful sin. You know what you're doing. You absolutely know what you're doing. And that will by no means clear the guilty. That's always interesting to me. You say, even though I'm forgiving these things, it by no means clear the guilty. So that means something else is going on, and we'll get to that much later. Visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children upon the children's children unto the 3rd and 4th generation. All right. We see it again here in Leviticus 16:21. Now, this is, just by looking at it, what do you think this is referencing? For those that have been here a while. This one little passage. We read it every year. Here you go. We're talking about Yom Kippurim, covering Leviticus 16:21. And Aharon shall lay both hands upon the head of the live goat, Azazel, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their what? Transgressions, and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. I just wanted to bring this out because I didn't bring it out last week. I just want to show that it goes a little deeper. All right, and Ezekiel 18:21. Now this is important. Hot. Marking your scriptures, put it down, commit it to memory. All right, but when the righteous turn away from his what? His righteousness, and committeth iniquity. Now what is he committing? He said he's doing those things, doing according to all the abominations that the wicked man doeth. That iniquity. He knows what's right. He chose to turn his back. He chose to walk away. He chose to do it. But he said, shall he live after he does something like that? He said, all his righteousness that he has done shall not be mentioned. That's why it's a dangerous thing, to say, well, I'm going to go out there and put my toe out there a little bit. I know I'm wrong, but I'm going to do it because my flesh desires it. I just want to live my life. I just want to be free. Why can't I be like everybody else? You can't. You're a peculiar people. You belong to Yah. You're his Isha. You can't just do what you want. Would you please? Thank you. All right. His trespasses that he has trespassed, and in his sins that he has sinned, in them shall he what? Die. Shall die. All right. So again, we're looking at iniquities, trespasses, and sin. See and abominations. All right. So if you want to know more or have a better understanding of this topic, you can go to the website at pathofyahuah.com, and there's a PowerPoint there, the levels of sin. All right. They got 3 of them: part 1, part 2, part 3. Or you can YouTube search the levels of sin and how it operates in you, and you can go a little deeper. For those that want to go a little deeper. Like I said, this is a very level 1 class. All right. All right. Today we're going to look at the favor of Yah, commonly called grace. Right. And last week we went over the definitions and history of the word grace, but I failed to mention the most popular definition used throughout all the theological circles, which defines grace as Elohim's unmerited favor. Everybody's heard that, right? Yeah. Great. Unmerited favor. That's funny. Why? Because which points back to the origin, right, of the word and reinforces the use of the term favor. That's kin. Kin, Kanan, or Hanan, like Hannah, right? That's where Hannah comes from, right? But it reinforces favor. That's where it comes from. All right. Does the concept of Yah's favor start with the writings of the New Testament, or can it be seen from the beginning? All right. Okay. Let's take a look. All right. We're going to go Bereshit or Genesis 6:5. And Elohim saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Yahuah that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahuah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creeping things and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. He said, but Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuah. Now let's see what happens. It's significant. All right, we're talking about favor past. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and beheld it was corrupt, for all the flesh had corrupt his ways upon the earth. And Elohim said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shall thou make in it, the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. So he gives them some instructions. He says, hey, you found favor in my sight. So here's my word. I want you to pay attention to this pattern now, because we're going to see this pattern again. He gives them an instruction. He said, found favor in my sight. He calls out to Noah, here's my word, my instruction. What's another word for instruction? Torah. Okay, here's my instruction, my Torah. All right? And behold, and I skip down, and behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall what? But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. Wow, so because of his obedience, him hearing by faith the word of Yahuah, and his obedience to that word, it was to the saving of his whole household. This is the favor of Yah in operation. Oh, wow, this is like a brand new concept, right? Peter records it, right? So we're going to, just a few examples from the front of the book, the back of the book. Here we go. 1 Peter 3:20. Which sometimes were disobedient. He's talking about and before he's talking about the condition of the earth that was going on and all the things that were going on. So, which were sometimes disobedient, when once the long-suffering Elohim waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls were saved by water. 8. You say a few? It was a few, right? You say 8 souls. All right. 2 Peter 2:4. For if Elohim spared not the whom? The Malachim that sinned, but cast them down to hell. Some people don't believe in hell. There's got to be a holding place that Yahuah created. He said, there's a place under the earth, under Euphrates, right? He said there's chained down there, whether we call it hell or something else. All right, but it's his holding place. And delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. And spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the unrighteous. This destruction. He was spared. He was saved. Not only him, but his whole house. Everything that was attached to him was preserved, was saved, was delivered. I'm using these words on purpose. Follow me here. Now, Hebrews 11:7 says, by faith, Noah, being warned of Elohim of these things not seen as yet. They had never seen this happen before. He just believed what Yahuah told him. It's going to rain. I'm going to destroy the earth by water. What's that? Never happened before. I'm going to believe it. He moved how? With fear. He moved with urgency. He said, I believe this. I believe this is going to happen. Preparing the ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world. Because he did that, because he believed him so readily and rapidly, he condemned the rest of the world like, wow, this one man, he is the righteous one out of all the ones that's here. All right? And become heir of the righteousness, which is what? By faith. All right? Check this out. I know some people might not agree with Jubilees, or they might not ascribe to the Apocrypha, or any of those writings, but I wanted for the commentary portion, because it fit. Jubilees 5:19. And as for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. Was he saying, oh, his wife is so righteous? Did he say that? Or his sons were so righteous? Their wives were so righteous? No, that's not what he said. Just Noah alone, right? For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons and their households, right? Because not only his household, but his sons' households were saved. Whom Elohim saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him. Now, that's all regarding him now, in his time and his season. He did right according to his ways. And he had not departed from aught that was ordained of him. Everything Yahuah told him how to do, what to do, he did exactly what he said do. Question. Does that sound familiar? We're talking about favor here, commonly called grace. All right? So we make a big deal when we're coming out of Christianity, right? We was real staunch on that. Even now, when you start talking about keeping the law, statutes, commandments, I think a lot of times we even skip over the favor of Yah and what it really means, because it's the starting point. It's the starting point of a lot of things. We're going to get into it. All right? So it sounds familiar. So favor, presence. So now, in this current age, whose person alone is accepted to the saving of those that believe? Yahushua, right? Or Yehoshua, how you pronounce it. Romans 3:22. Even the righteousness of Elohim, which is seen by, which is by the faith of Yahushua HaMashiach. Now, this is interesting now. Did he say faith in him? Of his. It's his faith. Just like it was Noah's faith, right? To take on a body to come down here, not, knowing he's going to die. Knowing he's going to die. To humble himself, to take on the likeness of sinful flesh. To come down here with the promise of you have permission to raise again, and whoever believes in you is going to be saved. I'm going to deliver them. I'm going to take them aboard. That's faith. By his faith, unto all and upon all them that believe, there is no difference. For all have sinned and come short of the esteem of Elohim, being justified freely by his favor through the redemption that is in Mashiach Yahushua, whom Elohim has set forth to be a perpetuation. All right. This has to do with the Ark of the Covenant. Yahuah strong. The cover of the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat, the place of perpetuation. He was the atoning sacrifice. Right? So this word ties back to Yom Kippur. Right? He's the perpetuation. Through faith in his blood to declare his righteousness for the remissions of sins that are what? Past. So everything our forefathers did, everything that we were guilty of when we were ignorant of the law, ignorant of the word, when we come in, we get a clean slate. Don't you say that at the immersion site? Say the things that are, we go down in that water, we leave that down there. We're coming up in the newness of life. Right? So now we want to walk in that newness. Are we going to make some mistakes here? You're going to make some mistakes because we're like babies. We don't know. We didn't grow up in Torah. We didn't grow up knowing. That's why his favor is sufficient. Right? His favor. That's what covers us. We believe in him, and by he believing in the Father is going to do what he says he's going to do, that covers us. The perpetuation, all right? Since passed through the forbearance, the long suffering of Elohim. Right. I hope I'm not losing anybody. Got any questions? Okay. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Ephesians 2:2. Wherein in times past he walked according to the course of this world. That's what we did. According to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. We all walked contrary to Yahuah. We all have sinned at one point. But when you come to Yahushua, you get a fresh start. Right? Among whom also we all had our conversations in times past in lust of our flesh, fulfilling desires of our flesh and of the mind, and whereby nature the children of wrath, even as others. So just because they're out there, we have to be a certain way to people on the outside. We can't just all condemn them. Oh, y'all going to hell. You ain't going to never. You're not going to understand. No, we have to show the same compassion and mercy and be that light that draws them in. Because they can come in, they can yet, as long as they got breath in their body and the time is now, Yahuah is able to be found. We ain't in a situation where we're running for our lives and the sky is falling. You know what I'm saying? We're not there yet. Sometimes we think we're getting there, but we're not there yet. We got a long way to go. All right. But Elohim, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, has quickened us together with Hamashiach. By favor ye are saved. By whose favor? Yahuah's. The Father. Yeah. The Father's favor is by his favor. It's all by his favor. He said, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. I will have favor on whom I will have favor. And has raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Hamashiach Yahushua. So we're in him. He's that ark of safety. Right? He's that ark of safety. So when you don't believe in him, then you're on the outside of that ark. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Right? We're going to be on the outside ark because that's how Shaul, this is the writings of Shaul, commonly called Apostle Paul. And we're going to talk about that because he had a certain view of it because he was coming out of a certain lifestyle, right? Shaul was a very religious person. He was very religious. So we're going to talk about that. All right. Ephesians 7:2, that in the ages to come, we're talking, that's a future tense, right? To come, he might show his exceeding riches of his favor and his kindness towards us through Hamashiach Yahushua. For by favor, the favor of Yahuah, we are saved through faith, and that not of ourselves. It is the gift of Elohim, right? So remember, it was through Noah's faith and obedience that his family was saved by the favor of Yah. And it's through Yahushua's faith and obedience unto death, right, that all who believe shall be saved by the favor of Yah. Now, the hard part about that is, like I say, it's keeping it, staying steady, rocking steady to the end. All right. Now, quick sidebar. All right. Much of what most people understand about the favor of Yah is seen through the lens of the Shalach Shaul, also known as the Apostle Paul. Because we will be using his letters, I want to take the time to highlight a little background about Shaul using his own words, but you're gonna do this a little later on in the lesson. All right, do it later on in the lesson. All right, so I want to talk about Abraham's story. Abraham's story. This is another story about the favor of Yah. The favor of Yah. All right. Now Yahuah said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation. I will bless thee, and I will make thee a great name, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. How many? All families. Oh, all families. Okay. So Abraham departed as Yahuah had spoken unto him. He did what? Departed. So he heard the word by faith, and he took action. Hear and do. Hear and do. Pattern. Right? He had spoken unto me, and Lot went with him. And Abram was how old? And write that down so we remember that. I'm going to ask a math problem. I'm going to do a math problem later. And when he departed out of Haran, and Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they had went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and in the land of Canaan they came. All right. 12 and 6. And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plains of Moreh, and the Canaanites was there in the land. So the land was occupied, right? That's the place where he told them to go. They had people living there already. It wasn't a barren land. There was some people living there. And Yahuah appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there build an altar unto Yahuah, who appeared unto him. Here we go. This is a long story. I'm just taking excerpts. And Yahuah said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, so Lot said, hey, the substance is too great, the land is too big, we got too much, we can't dwell together, our shepherds are fighting, I'm going to go somewhere else. He said, you go ahead on. Lift up thine eyes now, this is Yahuah talking to him, lift up thine eyes and look from the place where thou art northward and southward, eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it and thy seed forever. I'm going to give you all this for you and your children. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Can anybody number the dust of the earth? Huh? The dust. Oh, man, you can barely see it, but it's numerous. It's everywhere. It collects everywhere. You can't. All right? Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, and I will give it unto thee. So he's making these promises to him. I want you to know something. I want you to see something. If you see it already, raise your hand. No, not yet? Okay. Okay. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, so there was a fight, kings with the wars, Lot was taken, he called him his brother. It means his kinman, right? Was taken captive, and he armed his trained servants born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, and he and his servants by night, and they smote them and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Let's continue on. Skipping down. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter at the Kedormor, and all the kings were with him at the valley of Sheba, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. Why is that significant? Yeah, okay. It's the covenant meal, right? The bread and wine, it's covenant meal. And he was the priest of the Most High Elohim. And he blessed him. And he said, blessed is Abraham, the Most High Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth. Blessed be the Most High Elohim, which has delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithe of all. He gave him 10 cents of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hands to Yahuah, the Most High Elohim, the possessor of heaven and earth. I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, not even a shoestring, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldst say, I have made Abram rich. You're not catching it yet? Y'all know the story, so I'm going through the story. I want you to see if you don't glean it out of here. There's a condition he's in right now. Better sheet 15:1. And after these things, the word of Yahuah came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram. He said, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Now the king of Sodom just offered him everything. You have all his riches in it. But he says, no, I don't want none of that. I raise my hands to Yahuah. Yahuah says, I'm your shield and your exceeding great reward. This is significant. Keep that in mind. And Abram said, Adon Yahuah, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abraham said, behold, to me thou hast given me no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. All right, so we're skipping down. And behold, the word of Yahuah came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that has come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and he looked. He said, look now towards the heavens, Shamayim, and tell the stars, if thou art able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he said, he believed Yahuah, and it was accounted unto him as righteousness. You see in a pattern, right? You see that pattern? But there's a significance about this pattern. He's got the same situation going on with Noah. Right? It's a pattern of Noah, a pattern with here. Don't worry, we're going to get to it, because that's what Shaul talked about later. I hope you're seeing the picture of faith and obedience. I know you're seeing that. All right? Here we go, continuing on. And he said unto him, I am Yahuah that brought thee out of Ur of Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit. And when the sun goes down, right, so skipping down, and when the sun goes down, he tells him to do something, gave him some instructions. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. Right? So he told him to take some animals. He said, cut them up a certain way, take some birds, lay them out. Right? And it came to pass, up and down to 17, And it came to pass that when the sun had went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoke furnace and a burning lamp that passed through the pieces that he had cut up. And in the same day Yahuah made a covenant with Abraham, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So he's saying, all this land, everything you put your foot on, I'm giving it to you, as far as you can see. All from Egypt all the way. That's a lot of land. It's huge. That's not that little square we. No, it's not that. So he said, I'm going to give you all this. He made a promise to him. He kept telling him this over and over again. But he's in a certain condition. And he keeps walking. He's just believing Yah. I believe him. I believe what he said. Right? And when Abraham was what? 99 years old. Yahuah appeared unto Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim. Walk before me and be thou what? Perfect. What does that mean? Complete, mature. Yeah, tell me, right? And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Now this man is 99 years old. Huh? We can't hardly see it at 50. Don't talk about 60. Oh, I'm just getting too old now. I'm too old. Children? Shh, babies? Huh? No, okay. Neither shall thy name no more anymore be called Abram. Something's happening. Something's happening. He was Abram the whole time. But the name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful. And I will make nations of thee. And kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant. So this is a perpetual thing. In their generation, in my generation, your generation, and the generation to come, my children's generation, right? An everlasting covenant to be an Elohim unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Wow. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. I will be their Elohim. Are we in Canaan right now? Are we in the land of Canaan? So that means that's still to come. Is that right? Okay. Is he a liar? I don't know. No. Okay, so he's making this promise. He's changed his name. He's talking about this covenant. What covenant are you doing? And Elohim said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generation. Each generation. Right? This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man among you shall be circumcised. Uh-oh. What's this about? He's going to be circumcised. Okay. And he shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of the stranger, which is not of thy seed. Right? And he that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must need be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man, child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. Very significant. And Elohim said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, or Yitzhak, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Promise is going to the next generation. And Abraham took Ishmael his son. So he had a son, from handmaiden. We didn't go over all that. But I said, you know the story. You can go back and read the whole story. And all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same, self-same day as Elohim had said unto him. And Abraham was how old? 99 when he was circumcised in his flesh, this foreskin. So how old was he when he started out? 75. Oh. So he was 75 when he started out. You hear how many years did he walk by faith and obedience before he was circumcised? 24 years. So that means he was by the favor of Yahuah. He wasn't circumcised yet. He was just hearing his word, believing him, and obeying everything that he said. And that is our walk, the faith walk. You know, sometimes you want to talk about what Shaul did and what he was talking about, because that's where everybody gets confused. But we fail to look back. Abraham wasn't circumcised, neither was Noah, right? But they believed Yahuah and followed him in their generation. But he specifically told Abraham, this is going to be an everlasting covenant in your flesh. But you don't have to impose it on somebody when they first come in. Oh, you know you got to be circumcised, right? You know you got to be circumcised. If you don't be circumcised, you ain't going to be saved. You ain't circumcised, you're not going to be, you know, you ain't going to make it in. You ain't circumcised. You got to give a person a chance to learn. Walk by faith. Grow in this thing. Get an understanding. And then once you got that understanding, once you get to this part, you be like, you're reading it, you finally realize, you know, he's serious about this. You know, because he says, the ones that's not circumcised are going to be what? Cut off from the people. Right? All right. So this is a thought process. All right. And this is the witness of Yahuah of Abraham. And Yahuah said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him. He says, what? I know him. And he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of Yahuah. To do what? Justice. And what? Judgment. And Yahuah shall bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. This is Yahuah's testimony about him. He said, I know him. He's going to tell his children what to do. He's going to command it. He's going to make sure they know. He's going to bring it. He's going to drive it home. Are we driving it home with our children? Huh? How important it is. All right? All right. And Yahuah appeared, and this is another testimony, and Yahuah appeared unto Isaac, right? And Isaac is now on his own. He's with his wife. His father's passed on. And said, go down into Egypt and dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries. Wow. Countries. Countries. You know, just think America, Canada, South America, countries. You know, all the countries. And I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of the heaven. And I will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all, how many? All the nations of the earth be blessed. Because why? Because Abraham obeyed my voice, and he kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Because he did it. Not because he was doing it, because he did it. Got this pattern going. All right. So because of the faith and obedience of Abraham, the favor of Yah can pass on to all that believe and follow. And are following him, you know, following his pattern. Following his pattern to believe Yah and obey. Believe. That's how I started. I didn't know nothing about it. I just, whatever you say, I'm going to do. Whatever you say, I'm going to do. Right? That's how we should be. Whatever you say, I'm going to agree with you. All right. Now, Shaul explains Abraham and the favor of Yah. So we're going to start here, then we're going to break off a little bit, talk about Shaul, and then we're going to come back. All right. What shall we say then that Abraham our father has pertaining to the flesh has found? He says, what did Abraham discover in his walk with Yahuah? For if Abraham were justified by works, now we got to understand something about what he's thinking about when he talks about works. It's not the same thing that we're thinking about. We'll see why. And he has wherefore to esteem. He can boast. If he's justified by works, he can boast. He did this, I did that, I did the other. Oh, look at that. Look what I did, but he can't do it before Elohim. And say, for what Scripture has said that Abraham believed Elohim, and it was accounted to him as righteousness, right? So we saw that, right? Genesis 15:6, right? Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of favor, but of debt. So if you go to work and they pay you, that's not no favor, that's not no gift. You know, they owe you that, right? That's what he's saying. They owe you that. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifies the unrighteous, his faith is counted as righteousness. So you're like, what are you saying, Shaul? Because I can obviously see that in Yahuah 8:39, it says the answer, and they answered. He's talking about the Pharisees that were that Yahushua was arguing with or debating with. They answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. And Yahushua said unto him, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the what? So there's some works that Abraham did, but he's not justified by works. Right? That's what he's saying, right? That's what it seems like he's saying. We're going to it. All right? He says, this is the testimony of Yahuah again. He said, I know him. And he said, he shall keep the way of Yahuah and do justice and judgment of Yahuah. Right? He says he's going to, this is works. These are actual things that we do, his obedience. You know? So we got to figure out what Shaul was saying. So that's why I say, well, what Shaul was talking about. Because everybody that reads the NT, the New Testament, the Hadashah, especially his letters, we all get confused and discombobulated. You can sit in a million classes, and the teacher just explains something to you. And then when you go back to try to regurgitate it, you don't know the head from the tail. Well, it says right here. And you're like, well, see, what you don't understand is you got to go to the Greek. And then, what you don't know is you don't know who Shaul is. You don't know his background, right? So you must remember that this letter was not written to you, right? It wasn't for us. We're reading somebody else's mail, right? We can glean from it for sure, but we're definitely reading from somebody else's mail. There was questions asked. He's answering questions. We don't have the clue as to what the question was, but he is addressing things, right? In his writing, he's writing from a Torah-only perspective. Realize that? Because remember, there's no New Testament for him to refer to. There's no NT. There's no Matthews to Revelation that he can go to. He's in the middle of writing what they call Romans, right? There's a letter to the Romans. Yeah, this is what's going on. Yeah, we'll just answer some questions. So we got to remember that when we're reading the letters of Shaul, what his perspective is. So I want to just kind of take a journey to see in his own words a background of Shaul. All right? Am I losing anybody? Everybody with me? Really? All right. So sometimes we don't put these piece of puzzles together, just talk about it. So let's talk about Shaul and where he came from. All right? Start with Acts 7, 58, 59. And this is the time when Stephen is getting stoned. He just waylaid them with the word, testimony. They couldn't take it. And so they cast him out of the city, and they stoned him, and the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet whose name was Shaul. You'd say Saul in the English, right? And they stoned Stephen, calling upon Elohim and saying, Adonai Yahushua, receive my spirit. Shaul's there watching all this. And he says, Acts 1 and 8, and Shaul was consenting unto the death. He was like, yeah, kill him. And at the time, there was a great persecution against the assembly, which is at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except for the Shalaks, except for the apostles. Verse 3, as for Shaul, he made havoc of the churches, entering into every house, every assembly, hauling men and women, committing them to prison. Just think, somebody comes to the door. Boom, y'all going to jail for the word, for believing. Oh, my goodness. Some people might not even come. Safer online. All right, Acts 9 and 1. And Shaul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughterings against the disciples of Yahushua, went unto the high priest and desired of him letters of Damascus to the synagogues, that if he find any of this way, that's what it was called, the way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound into Jerusalem. So he had it bad. He had it bad. Now, all this happens before his encounter with the risen Yahushua, as he was zealous for the traditions of the fathers, all right, his forefathers, and their view of Torah, the Oratorah. He was carrying out what he felt was the righteousness of Yah. But he admits to something later, as you'll see. All right. Acts 24:14. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way, which they call heresy, the way, so worship I. He had a change of heart. I worship the Elohim of my fathers, believing all things which are what? In the law and in the prophets, and having hope towards Elohim, which they themselves also allowed. He's referring back to the Pharisees. They also believed some of the things he was teaching, but they was totally against Mashiach Yahushua, that there should be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. And hence do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense towards Elohim and towards men. All right, continue on with his background. Acts 26 and 22. Having they obtained help from Elohim, he's given a testimony to Agrippa at this time. And I continue unto this day, witnessing both to small and great, saying none things than those that which the prophets and Moshe did say would come. So he's saying over and over, I keep the laws and statutes. I'm just talking about what's in the laws, some more prophets and the Moses, what they say was going to happen. They want to persecute me for this. He was doing the same thing. He had a change of heart. Something happened. He had a change of heart. And Mashiach should suffer, the HaMashiach should suffer, and that he should be the first that should be raised from the dead and should be shown unto the people and unto the Gentiles, right? Showing light. Unto whom? Unto the people, right? So there's a people, showing light unto the people, a natural branch, and then there's the nations, the rest of the people, right? So he's showing light to both. And he says, I say then, has Elohim cast away his? Elohim forbid. For I also am a what? Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. He's telling you who he is and what kind of background he came from. All right? Philippians 3:3. For we are the circumcisions. He lumped himself. He said, we are the circumcision. He was circumcised. So he says, we are the circumcision. And said, which worship Elohim in what? In spirit. How do we worship? How we should worship him? In spirit and what? All right. He said, we worship in spirit and truth. And rejoice in HaMashiach Yahushua. And have no confidence in the flesh. He said, but though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he has, whereof he has trust in the flesh, I could really brag if I wanted to, right? Circumcised on the 8th day, stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews. That don't mean none of that, right? Touching the law of Pharisee. What do you mean? What do you mean? He says, Acts 26 and 4 and 5. My manner of life from my youth, which was at the first among my own nation at Jerusalem, know all the Yahudim, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most strictest set of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. So Pharisees didn't go by Torah directly. They went by the Takanot, the oral traditions. They added to the word, calling themselves, putting a fence around it to protect themselves from breaking it, realizing that you're not supposed to add or take away. And most of the times, the rabbinical order would be what? Higher than the Torah. The Torah says one thing, but the rabbi said this, we go with the rabbi. All right? We go with the rabbi. He said, concerning zeal, persecuting the church. Does that sound like he's keeping the law, the Torah? Is that what the Torah teaches? He said, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. Are you serious? Is he talking about the Father's law? Torah? Yahuah's word? No, okay. He's talking about oral traditions, right? He says this. Acts 22 and 3. I am verily a man which am a Yahudim, born of Tarsus of the city of Sicilia, yet brought up in the city at the feet of Gamaliel. So this is a renowned rabbi. Look him up. Look him up. You couldn't even be in his class unless you had a photographic memory. So you had to memorize the Torah by heart. And then you have to memorize the oral traditions by heart. And he said, how he was taught? Taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards Elohim, as ye all are this day. They had a mob ready to kill him. He said, look, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm crazy. But you know me. This is the law that he was talking about. He was blameless in the law of the fathers, right? We're going to see it again. Galatians 1:13. For ye have heard of my conversion in times past, conversation in times past, in the Yahudi's religion, how that beyond measure I persecuted the assemblies of Elohim and wasted it. The Torah talks against all that. We're supposed to be judgment and justice. We're not supposed to defraud our brothers. We're not supposed to be murdering our brothers. That wasn't the Torah, but he was zealous behind the religion, behind the father tradition. For I profited it in the Jews' religions above my equals in my own nation, exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my father. So you're getting a better picture of how he was, what he was thinking. So when he got converted, he like, wait a minute. I thought I was, keeping them commandments. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing the law, doing it, But he was actually breaking the law. And then he realized, wait a minute. I have to go back and revisit this Torah. So he finds himself in the desert for a while. He says he's getting direct revelation, which is getting me understanding, because he's like, okay, he's getting he said, oh wow, I missed all this. All right? Shaul's words. Romans 10:1. Now this is how Shaul was. He's talking from experience here. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Elohim is for Israel, that they might be delivered, protected, saved. Right? For I bear them record that they have a zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge, just like he did. He had a zeal for Elohim, but it wasn't according to knowledge. Right? For they being ignorant, just like him, like he was, of Elohim's righteousness, right? And going about to establish his own righteousness, they're going about establishing their own righteousness. He was doing the very same thing. Have not submitted themselves into the righteousness of Elohim. So how do we know righteousness? Torah. And you're putting it where? And you're putting it in your heart, right? You're trying to keep these things in your mind. You're always studying it. There's going to be a time when Yahuah says, he's going to write it on the tables of your heart. You ain't going to have to be taught no more. Hallelujah. But right now, we have to keep studying and keep reading and looking over it, meditating his word when? Day and night, right? Meditating it. He said, for hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness. This is Isaiah 57:1. The people in whose heart is my law. That's who knows righteousness. The righteousness of Yahuah is his law, his Torah, his instructions. If you know that, you know righteousness. But they was making their own righteousness, right? We even going around making our own righteousness right now. You know, that's why that's a lot of times there's so many divisions. There was Sadducees, right? There was Sadducees or Sadducees. There was Pharisees, right? There was Essenes. we just the same today. We got how many groups? So many names. And some say, well, this is the only real one. If you ain't over here, right? All this division, all this dividing. Same thing. You say, oh, yeah, you're trying to strive for something, but then once you get to it, you want to add to it and add to it and add to it, trying to be better than this one. You can't just be one, a cod, and just walk this thing out. Somebody got to have more knowledge than the other person. Oh, he ain't better than me, or he ain't more than me. No. He might have some information or an ability or talent that you could benefit from. You don't have it all. I don't have it all. I need you. We're one body, right? That's how we grow. We see in part, right? Oh, here we go. So we're back to Romans. So I'm going back to Romans. Recap. We're almost done. Hope everybody's with me. Did I lose anybody? All right. Romans. Back to Romans 1. So now we can kind of understand some of this stuff he's talking about because he's talking from Torah only. He was a genuine Torah only. Mashiach. Here's telling you. Kill you dead. You know, Mashiach. Ain't no Mashiach. No. I don't believe in that foolishness. He was a true Torah only. But when he got converted and he began to look at the thing, he said, wait a minute. Who has been doing this pattern the whole time? Right? So he says, what shall we say then? This is out of the Net Bible. What shall we say that Abraham, our ancestor, according to the flesh, has discovered regarding this matter? If Abraham was declared righteous by the works of the law, he has something to boast about. He has something to boast about. But not before Elohim. For what does the scripture say? Abraham believed Elohim and was accredited to him as righteousness. Now, to the one who works, right, according to the oral traditions, you know, doing the takanotes of the fathers, you know, not Yahuah's law. His pay is not credit due to favor, right, but to obligation. If you're doing all this work, you're thinking I'm going to get work. I do the work, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to make it in because I did it. You know, just because I'm a Hebrew, because I'm wearing my zeets, because I go on Shabbat, I keep the Torah and I keep the feast days. But I do defraud my brother. I am mistreating my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? I am not doing anything, no justice, Torah at all, not taking care of the widows, not doing anything. I see people in need, I'm stepping right by them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking care of nobody but me. But I look good doing it. Right? They got those out there, right? So, but the one who does not work, right? So all of a sudden this person that don't know Torah, that's us. That's us. Did you grow up in Torah? Did you grow up learning? I didn't grow up learning Torah, right? So I didn't know nothing about no works. I didn't know nothing about those things. So, you know, right there, he's not talking to me because that didn't apply to me. But this applies to me in the sense that, but I believe in he who declares the unrighteous righteous, Yahuah. I believe in him, right? And his faith is accredited as righteousness. My faith now in him is accredited as righteousness. Now I have an opportunity to walk with the Most High, you know, growing in his favor. All right, so he calls this. This is my favorite scripture because this is what Yahuah first showed me when he woke me up, you know, in Psalms. So Romans 6:4. So even David himself speak regarding the blessedness of the man whom Elohim credits righteousness apart from works. Blessed are those whose lawless deeds are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Talking about that Yom Kippur, all right, the atoning sacrifice. Blessed is the man, is the one against whom Yahuah will not count sin. And this is where it reads in the King James. This is one that everybody is familiar with. Blessed is he whose transgressions is forgiven and whose sins is covered. I remember reading that like, my goodness, he's talking to me. Blessed is the man unto whom Yahuah impute not iniquity, and whose spirit there is no guile. And later on he said, this is a prayer that all those that seek Yahuah will pray. Right? Blessed is the person, blessed is the man, right? So it is blessedness then. He asked a question. This is Shaul's question. He said, is it blessedness then for the circumcision or also for the uncircumcision? For we say faith was a credit to Abraham as righteousness. So how then was it a credit to him? Was he circumcised at the time or not? Not. So he didn't know anything about laws. He just heard the word and he believed, and he was not circumcised but uncircumcised, right? Uncircumcised heart, circumcised in the flesh. But when he heard the word, he believed, and that cuts or picks the heart. He's been cut. I believe you. I'm going to follow after you. All right. And he received what? The sign of circumcision, the oath, the token of the covenant, as a seal of righteousness that he had by faith while he was still uncircumcised. So now he's done walked, what, how many years again? 24 years, obeying the word as it was taught to him. He heard it, and then he did it. He heard, and then he did it. So Shaul is pointing this out because he was Torah all the way. Oh, if it was a war for keeping Torah the way he understood it, he was the champion, hands down. You know what I'm saying? He knew his pedigree. He had his outfit on. I'm it. I'm the man. But when he realized how wretched he was, you know, I wasn't keeping Torah. I was keeping something else. You know, I didn't even see this. So it didn't do away with the law, but it established it for him. He said, wow, I got to go back and relearn all of this. I got to go back and relearn it. So he's coming, when he's talking to people, he's talking to a lot of people that are still that Torah only, no Mashiach, ain't none of that. You know, they don't want to come into the ark. They don't want to believe it. All right, so let's see. All right, so we see this is the covenant. Talked about it before. I just wanted to show it again, to reiterate. I want to kind of keep it fresh, like I said about compartmentalizing. Keep it fresh in your mind. He says it's the covenant between you and me. All right, it's an everlasting covenant. Right, all right. So that he would become the father of all those who believe but have never been circumcised. That includes a lot of us. All of a sudden we wake up and then we realize, oh, snap. I need to, you start realizing, you say, wait a minute, I need to go get circumcised. You know, it's not that I'm going to reject it. I don't need to be no circumcised. No. When you start to understand and learn, then you're going to realize, wait a minute, this is what this covenant says. It says it's going to be a covenant in the flesh, generation. Yeah, I might have started out this way, but as I grew in knowledge and understanding, I realized, yeah, I think I need to go get this done. I know I need to get this done. And get it done. All right? Circumcised, that they too could have righteousness accredited to them. Righteousness accredited to them. And he is also the father of the circumcised who are not only circumcised, right? So you can't just be circumcised, right? You can't be like, I was circumcised on the 8th day. You know, I've been circumcised all my life, so I'm already good. You know, I already got salvation. No, you don't. You don't. But he says, but who also walk in the footsteps of the faith that our father Abraham possessed when he was still uncircumcised. So when he was uncircumcised, he was what? Obeying, hearing, and obeying. Hearing and obeying. You can be circumcised all day. You don't hear, you don't hear, you don't obey, or you just hearing it, you never obey. You're not one of his. All right? So again, the works of Abraham. That's what Mashiach says. If you're Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. Right? So how do we obtain faith? How do we get faith? Where is your faith? But how do we get it? How did Abraham get it? Hearing the word. Okay, we close. There we go. This is surmising. This is what Shaul getting it from. He says, "Wow, this is what Abraham did." He says, "So faith comes by what? And hearing by the what? This is what he's discovering, and that's what he's writing about. He's like, "Wow, this is deep. I've never looked at Torah like this before." What happens when you don't have faith? What happens when you don't have faith? Okay, I'll just go ahead on. He says, without faith, it is impossible to please Yahuah, right? For he that cometh to Elohim must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Remember, he told Abraham, I am your shield and your exceedingly great reward, because you're seeking after me. You wasn't going after the filthy lucre that they was offering. You said, no, I'm not touching that. Yahuah got me. And he said, oh yeah, I'm your exceeding great reward. And this is the stuff that Shaul was discovering while he's relearning Torah. You know, it's not like he already knew what Torah was. He's relearning it. And so he's like, this is revolutionary. This has all been here the whole time? All right? He said, this is remember the testimony. He said, because Abraham what? Obeyed. Right? He obeyed my voice. And he kept everything. He kept the laws, kept the charges, kept the statutes. All right. The favor of Yah. We're going back to Ephesians. That in the ages to come, it's future tense, he might show the exceeding riches of his favor and his kindness towards us through Yahusha, or Mashiach Yahusha. For by favor are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves is a what? A gift. Right? So he says, this is Galatians. Everybody wants to go to Galatians. Eventually we'll get to Galatians. But I'm pulling a little something out because it talks about how Shaul was thinking. Because once you understand where he was coming from, now when you read his letters, you can have a better perspective on what he's saying. Well, he can't be talking about the Father's law because he said this over here. He said this over here. You start to put it together, what he was dealing with, who he was talking to, and not just going off of, well, it's right here in the book. That's what it says in black and white. You read it yourself. Yeah, but you're not reading it in context. You're not reading with any knowledge. Right? Okay. He said, knowing that a man is not justified by works of the law. Is that the big law or is that the little law? Well, if you go and look at it, it just says law, really, in that verse. And he's talking about a certain type of law. By the faith of Yahusha HaMashiach. But by the faith of Yahusha HaMashiach. We are not justified by the work of law, but by the faith of Yahusha HaMashiach. Right? Even we have believed in Yahushua Mashiach that we might be justified by the faith of HaMashiach and not by the works of law. For by the works of law shall no flesh be justified. Now, how do I know he's not talking about the Father's law, right? He says this, Romans 2, same letter or Galatians he's writing. He says, Romans 2, he says, for not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified. This is Shaul. So he's saying this is the Father's law that shall be justified. For when the nations which don't have the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves. Wow. So you naturally know not to molest a baby. You know if somebody's hungry, to feed them. You know, it's not natural for you to just automatically go around and kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? No, you already know that within you, intuitive, right? Which shows the works of the Father's law written in their heart, their conscience also bearing witness that their thoughts, the meanwhile accuse or else excuse one another. All right. Then he goes on to say, all right, as we say, and so it's not by works, these things man should boast, for we are the workmanship created in Mashiach Yahusha unto good works. We are created for good works, which Elohim has before ordained that we should walk therein. Why? Because the righteousness of the law, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who do what?
Who walk not after the flesh,
But after the
but after the spirit.
ah. So you see, Shaul did understand the difference between those taka notes and the Father's Torah, his instructions, the forefathers' traditions, and what Yahuah had commanded. And he's discussing these things with people who understood the law. If you were born in the 20th century, the 19th century, the 21st century, you have no clue what the law says, right? So you're learning about it. But he's talking to people who are claiming to understand it then. So he's chopping it up with some sophisticated folks. We can't just jump in the middle and decide, okay, this is what he mean here, this is what he mean there, and we create all these false doctrines, right? But he knew what he was doing. All right. Oh, any questions? Any questions? No, we go. I hope I didn't lose nobody. If you do have a question, please ask. Please ask. We're gonna continue on because we didn't finish the chapter. I want to finish that whole chapter. But Zoom is open. Zoom is open. If you have any questions, please ask. If I don't answer it today, I sure will answer it next week. You know, I don't want to give you no half answers. We good. All right. All right. Hallelujah. Well, let us stand. Aki Abiyah.
Hold on, Maury.
Go ahead.
No, this is not pertaining to the lesson. Could you email me a copy of the 10 Deborahines? Because I'm trying to break down the words, but sometimes I don't pronounce them properly.
Okay. We'll do. No problem.
Toda, now we can proceed.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Praying, Papa. Get ready to pray. Let us prepare our hearts and our minds as we come before our testimony. Dear beloved and holy of Yahuah, Eloheinu, we come before you prostrate in our spirit, giving thanks for this Shabbat Yom, giving thanks for this fellowship here today, giving thanks for the word which went forth, Father. We thank you for this opportunity to be able to make our lives right with you one more time. We thank you for the gifts in which you have given us, for the many blessings in which you have bestowed upon each and every one of us. We heard your word today. We understand the grace in which you have given us through your beloved Son, Yehoshua HaMashiach, our King, our Savior. We thank you for the salvation in which you have afforded us through his sacrifice. We pray that the word that was given here today, that it transform us and move us into a new place within you, that our old man be passed away, that we be immersed in your word. We thank you for that opportunity to be able to be called your children of the promise. Hallelujah.
We thank you for who you are and all in which you have done for us. As we go forth from this place here today, we ask for safe travel and mercy. Allow us to be able to return to our homes and from where we came in peace and in harmony and righteousness. We thank you for the meal in which we are about to receive here today. We thank